Hi, all. Hope you're well. Cullen here, and welcome to Lawyer Lending Live. I think we're up to episode 7 now, which is very exciting. The next guest I'm about to bring on is a true gem and powerhouse in every sense of the word. Over 33 years in financial planning and is an avid advocate for people's future and their most important day they leave this earth and what it means for their family, and an avid surfer as well. Would you please, mate, welcome Mr. James Walker-Powell from M4Life Financial Planning. How are you, James?
Cullen, what an introduction, mate. Thanks very much for that.
Well, tell me.
No, you tell me.
Introductions are very important to me.
Absolutely. Well, it's actually pretty good to be on the other side of the microphone because, as you know, I've done a number of podcasts, a number of little videos, many interviews, but I've never been on this side of the microphone. So here we go.
It's an honor to have you here, mon ami. And I was going to call the stream "Who Will Cry When You Die" or "Your Last Day on Earth," but I thought those were a bit morbid. But I'd love to hear from you what you see your role is in the equation of life, mon ami.
Yeah. Well, funny you should say that because many people ask me, look, when are you retiring, James? And I said, well, I actually like what I do. I've got no sort of pressing need to retire. Not that I'm probably financially comfortable now that I can retire. But my purpose, professionally at least, is to help other people have the choice of retiring at some stage in their life, being financially independent. Along the way, also, things pop up. And I guess basically what you alluded to in the introduction was the number of death claims and disability claims that I've actually handled in the past, particularly with lawyers and lawyers' partners. So been there in a few harrowing journeys, and proud to say that pretty much had 100% success rate as far as paying claims are concerned. There you go.
That's they're great outcomes, I must say. And we will get into those stories. But people that know you know that you like to also surf. How is that important to you?
Well, it's really important, okay, because it gives me an end to the Australian Legal Surfing Association, which if you talk to a guy called Peter Strain, who's an avid surfer himself, he's still got his practicing certificate. Not that he does a hell of a lot, but still got his practicing certificate. He reckons that the Australian Legal Surfing Association is the biggest board riding club in Australia. So that's his claim to fame. But I'm lucky enough to live, just a few doors up from the beach. My office is, 5 minutes away. So I live at Freshwater. My office is at Brookvale. So I do get the opportunity to go for a surf like I did this morning and, blend in with the community. So there you go.
It's a beautiful area that you live, I must say. And what a lifestyle. Bringing it back to what you do every day, what's the first question you ask when you're sitting in front of a client?
Oh, yeah. Well, Colin, you've sat in the client chair with me, and I think basically you're impressed with it's the Dan Sullivan question, so it's not my question. But I always ask clients or potential clients if they're sitting here in front of me in 3 years' time and they're looking back in those 3 years, what are the things that have to change both professionally and personally for them to be happy with their progress? So the idea is, to actually go forward in life, you need to imagine a better future. And without your imagination, okay, you're not going to have any better future. So it gives a short enough period of time where people can imagine a better future. And then we can set our goals around that.
And how far in advance do you plan?
Plan for our client's future.
Is it 5 years, 10 years, 15 years?
Well, it's everybody's on a journey, aren't they? No one knows when they're going to get off that journey. So we're planning for now until they get off the journey of life, so to speak.
I love your sentiments there, and especially for lawyers because they're very much a rain cloud beyond the rainbow sort of thing. How do they think about the last day on Earth? How do you get them to think about that?
It's very hard to actually sort of like what I've found is particularly barristers, okay, are unbelievably focused on what they're doing there and then. I mean, the focus that someone has whilst they're on a trial, for instance, okay, I've never actually experienced anything like it. So they tend to sort of like deal with everybody else's problems, and the one problem that they always neglect is their own. So having me there to talk about their particular challenges or aspirations is probably a breath of fresh air for them, because at least basically there's someone there to listen to them rather than them listening to other people and their problems. So does that answer your question?
Mate, however way you want to answer it is fine with me, James. Well done.
Yeah. So yeah, it's amazing actually how sort of like focused, especially someone who's in a criminal trial too, how focused they are. Unbelievable.
No,
And
amazing focus there.
I'm I mean you would think basically the intellect of a person, they could actually sort of like take on a lot of different things at one time, but it seems to me there's a correlation between the intellect of some people and what they do as far as focus is concerned. The focus goes from there so narrowly, okay, to solve a few problems. But I guess the responsibility for a barrister is also pretty high too, similar to, say, a doctor. But with a barrister, if someone's looking at, say, 15 years in jail, and it's up to them basically to get them out of that situation, that's a hell of a lot of responsibility that they're taking on. So I can appreciate how focused they need to be.
There's a lot of stress in that environment. And talking about barristers, because that's your predominant client base, I'd say. What's some amazing anonymous stories you can tell us in your journey and their journey?
Well, I guess basically it's on my website, but a client of mine for many, many years, over 20 years, had been, in his words, bitching and moaning about his insurance premiums for quite some time. And he was skiing in Aspen, and he basically, his heart, the aorta was actually splitting. He knew that was happening because he had a genetic sort of like thing with his brothers and sisters that was throughout the family. So he knew that this was happening. Anyway, so it's too high for a helicopter to go and get him in Aspen. So off he and his girlfriend went down to Denver. And it just so happened that at 1 o'clock in the morning, there were two cardiac specialists on, and they operated him there and then. So I think that was on the 10th, I think, of January. I got a call on the 12th or the 13th, and it's James. What insurance policies have we got? I mentioned it to this friend of mine. I'd say he's a friend. And I said, "What's the story?" And he said, "Look, I've just had this incredible life-saving surgery, and I just need to know what insurances I've got because it's going to cost me a fortune." I said, "You've actually had pretty much invasive open heart surgery. It's all full of drills and holes and all that sort of stuff." I said, "Are you on drugs?" He goes, "Yeah, they're fantastic." So that's Anyway, look, my friend basically came back within 2 weeks. We got a trauma insurance paid out, which has helped him pay for the huge bill, as you can appreciate, in the US. And he had a bit more on the trauma claim. And also, we negotiated with the insurer, who was Zurich at that time, to pay out equivalent to, say, 3 months income protection and business expenses, to allow him to actually get back to work slowly. So that's probably sort of like one of many, many stories. I guess, day to day, those circumstances don't come up day to day. And most of the days, it's chipping away at developing sort of like and um, increasing people's wealth. And I guess the best way to describe that is I've been doing jiu-jitsu for about 10 years, and jiu-jitsu is, who anybody's ever done it, it's incredibly frustrating, and it just takes so much time to actually become half competent with it. But over time, okay, when you're chipping away, um, you get all right with it. Okay, you know what to do, and it then becomes fun. I guess you can like that towards what I do as far as financial planning. No one ever gets wealthy overnight. You might win the lottery, but for most people, it's actually chipping away day to day, putting away their superannuation contributions, maybe a bit more. And over time, okay, compound interest will take hold of that. And that fantastic sort of like miracle of compound interest will get to them to a stage where they have got the opportunity to hang up their wig, I guess, and do something different. But it doesn't happen overnight, and it does take a relationship with me or whoever to get them there. So pretty proud of that for sure.
It's harrowing what you do. And that story in particular gets me because had he not have that in place, what do you think the cost would have been out of pocket?
Oh, I'm pretty sure basically you're looking at, for open heart surgery in the United States, you're looking in excess of half a million bucks, Australian dollars, for sure.
Oh my goodness.
It's not cheap over there. And they've,
No, it's not. They get you. They get you. They don't miss you in the States on the healthcare. But like switching gears a little bit, you used to be a teacher. I'd love to like delve into that. What made the change, and what did you enjoy most about being a chalky?
Well, I was actually not only a teacher, I was a PE teacher. So they're very different than normal teachers. As a PE teacher, you can actually sort of like, espouse. So when I left school, I liked the idea of actually rocking up to work with a pair of shorts and playing sports with kids, But I wasn't particularly sort of like a fan of the school environment. Anyway, so I did 3 years at ACPE, which is a Australian College of Physical Education. Then I went over to Perth and finished the final year at University of Western Australia. And for some reason, I got the job straight away. So I remember actually sort of like rocking up to my first day of school at Linwood Senior High School, which was a pretty rough place in those days. And I looked around, I thought, oh my God, I I hate school. What am I doing here? So I thought, look, I'll give it a crack. I've spent 4 years training for this, so it was really fun. But like today, um, teachers were and still are poorly paid compared to what they did. I was on $23,500 in those days, which pretty much basically didn't go too far at all. So that I'm a great advocate um, for teachers getting at least, I always say at least, where we can start with another 25,000 on top of their wage, and that would probably put them in parity, because the problem there is that teachers don't get overtime, you know. And, you know, they always compare them to, say, nurses and firemen. But, you know, a nurse can get up to sort of like $180,000 a year. You know, 100 of that would be a normal wage, and the 80 could be overtime if they're a theatre nurse or a specialist nurse. So it doesn't happen in the teaching profession, and that really annoys me because I guess, you know, we all know that if education is pretty much um, a surefire way of getting people out of poverty. You know? So, but if you're not respecting those people who do the work, how can you expect basically sort of like kids to have a decent education? But it does strike me sort of like quite unusual that those people in the education department may well be on 4 or 5 times what the teacher is actually sort of like earning. Yet they can't give the people who are doing the job a decent wage, you know. And to a certain extent, I must say, and this might sound bit, well, I'm an advocate for teachers. There's a hell lot of gaslighting happening, okay, with teachers through the government, through the education department. I think the union is actually useless, you know. If I was there, I'd be sort of like on the news every day and saying, look, you know, if you want your kids to actually get ahead, you need to pay the teachers properly, okay? And it's your taxes that are actually sort of like paying for it. So you can either pay for someone at head office doing nothing or pay for someone on the ground. Personally, I'd like to pay someone on the ground. So I guess you sort of like open up a can of worms here, Carl.
That's okay. I'm endeared by what you're saying. My wife is actually a teacher, and she's so fantastic, and she does such a great job. And they really do it for the passion. I once had a barrister tell me, "Look, Cullen, I don't do this job for the love, and if I did it, I'd be a nurse or a teacher because you don't get much love being a barrister."
Yeah. No,
Uh,
no, but at least you get a I've seen a few bottled wood Grangers in people's chambers, and you know, I never got a bottle of Grange when I was a teacher.
no. Final question: what one piece of advice would you like people to walk away from this with, James?
One piece of advice. Well, I guess basically in the financial planning sense, I think we can also like always shoot for a better life, imagine a better life, always imagine a better life, and strive for that. That's how I wake up every day. I mean, my life's fantastic, but it's always nice to like imagine something a bit better. And if you would like to sort of like engage a financial planner to help you along that journey, you know, you can get onto me. Yeah.
Fantastic,
There you go.
James. Thanks so much for joining, my friend. You're on LinkedIn. Where can people get you through LinkedIn?
Yeah, they can find me on LinkedIn. I mean, I'm not nearly as famous as you are. In fact, you know, when I mention your name to barristers, it's oh yeah, the LinkedIn guy, you know. So it's not come oh the LinkedIn guy they say.
Okay, that's good.
But yeah, you can
We
find
love
me on
LinkedIn.
LinkedIn. Where you go to the website, or they can give you a call. But I'm pretty easily found.
Good
Either
man.
that, or you can come and see me at Freshwater Beach tomorrow morning about 6:30. I'll be in the surf.
Very good, James. Thanks so much for joining, mate. You're a gem.
Thanks, Cullen, and thank you, Cullen, for all the support that you've provided More for Life over the years. We really appreciate that.
Appreciate you, sir. And that is our episode today. Thank you so much for joining, everyone. We've got Alistair Marshall up next for Law Live at 1:15. See you then. Have a great day, everyone.